Hi, my friends. Happy Friday. Our last text this week is called What is Pollination? What is your favorite fruit to eat? That fruit exists because of a very special process. That process is called pollination. Pollination makes it possible for plants to make new seeds. It affects all plants with flowers. Pollination depends on something called pollen. You may have heard of pollen before. Many people sneeze and get stuffy noses in the springtime because of it. But pollen is an important part of how new seeds and plants grow. For new seeds to grow, pollen has to be moved. It has to move from one part of a flower to another part of a flower. Usually, it gets moved to a different flower. This process is called pollination. It can happen in different ways. Sometimes pollen gets moved by the wind. For example, corn has light and dusty pollen. It can get blown long distances. When its pollen lands on the right part of another corn plant, it allows new corn to grow. Other time, pollen gets moved by animals or insects. These animals or insects are called pollinators. Bees are one example of a pollinator. They come to a flower to get its nectar or pollen. The pollen sticks to the bees. Then, when the bee flies to another flower, the pollen moves with them. It gets dropped off at the other flower. Moving pollen may seem like a simple thing, but it's very important. Without pollination, we wouldn't have many of the fruits, vegetables, and plants we have today. Questions from today's text. 1. According to the text, what process makes it possible for plants to make new seeds? A. Hibernation. B. Recycling. C. Pollination. Question 2. What does the text describe? A. The process by which a seed grows into a flower. B. Different ways pollen gets moved from one part of a flower to another part of a flower. Or C. Different flowers and the places where they grow. Question 3. Read the following sentences from the text. But pollen is an important part of how new seeds and plants grow. For new seeds to grow, pollen has to be moved. It has to move from one part of a flower to another part of a flower. What does this information tell us about where pollen comes from? A. Pollen comes from the flowers of a plant. B. Pollen comes from the underground roots of a plant. C. Pollen comes from inside the leaves of a plant. Question 4. What can happen when a bee moves pollen from one flower to another flower? A. The second flower loses its petals. B. The bee starts to make nectar. C. The second flower makes new seeds. Question 5, last question. What is the main idea of this text? A. Many people sneeze and get stuffy noses in the springtime because of pollen. B. The process of pollination makes it possible for plants to make new seeds. C. Corn has light and dusty pollen that can get blown long distances by the wind. Don't forget, send photos of your answers to your teacher, and we'll see you next week.